At the beginning of last month, when Labor announced its immigration policy, Andrew Little cited supermarket shelf stackers as an example of jobs we should be able to fill without requiring immigrant workers. Low-skilled work, usually at or near the minimum wage. Is that an example of the skill shortage the government has been using to justify high levels of immigration? Andrew Little raised supermarket stackers. Reporters took the example to Bill English to ask him if they were skilled workers. He deflected the question. Go ask the shelf stackers, he said. So we took the Prime Minister's advice and did exactly that. Zach Fleming went and asked shelf stackers themselves how they feel about being singled out as not skilled enough to work in New Zealand.
My name is Gagandeep Singh and I'm basically from India, North Part. And I have started working in New Victoria Park in 2012. I started as a grocery filler, as a grocery assistant, doing the mid-afternoon to midnight.
Grocery filler, shelf stacker. Gagandeep, or Gaga as he's known to friends, originally came to New Zealand to study.
I wasn't a plan to settle down, but slowly has been making me feel like this is a country where I want to live.
So he decided to stay. He's worked his way up in the 5 years he's been working. Now a grocery manager, a walkie-talkie constantly crackles at his hip. His boss says he's one of the hardest workers there. But if both the Labour Party and the National Party go ahead with their planned immigration policy changes, a future immigrant like Gaga would find it incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to start at the bottom and work his or her way up. Here's what Andrew Little said when he announced Labour's plans to cut migration by 20 to 30,000 people a year.
I do not believe that with 90,000 young people with no work that we do not have amongst that number 100 shelf stackers.
Reporters then asked Prime Minister Bill English to defend visas for shelf stackers.
Why he'd be quite so demeaning about shelf stackers is beyond me. If you go to the supermarket and there's no shelf stackers, there's nothing on the shelf to buy. That's a pretty fundamental process in an economy.
Mr English was asked whether stacking shelves was a skilled job.
Well, go and ask the shelf stackers.
And the shelf stackers Checkpoint spoke to acknowledged it's a job almost anyone physically able can do. But as Mr English pointed out, they said that it doesn't make it any less important.
You advertise the job to all New Zealanders, and predominantly it's migrants that are applying.
Jason Witahira owns the Victoria Park New World and is Gaga's boss. I asked him what will happen if he's forced to ignore migrant applicants.
I'd struggle immensely, and it's, you know, the first people I want to give a job to are New Zealanders, you know, whānau first. But at the end of the day, you can open the door, you can't force them to walk through it. And unfortunately, it's not as easy as what some people think.
He says often migrants are more committed.
The hours of work or the time of work, they're not questioning, whereas some of the New Zealand residents don't want to start at 3 in the morning or don't want to finish at 12 at night.
Som Kadam is in that category. He came to New Zealand 14 years ago.
I was an assistant baker, as I said, so I'm doing the weekends only, scraping the trays, mopping the floor and everything. Hi Joel, how you going, mate?
He's worked his way up and is now a bakery manager at Pack and Save in Pukekohe. He lives in Manukau with his wife and 2-year-old daughter and says immigrants should be judged on how hard they work, not what job they're doing.
Someone is hard working, then he is, not because he's Indian or he's Kiwi. Nah, I think that's the wrong way to put someone in a box. Yeah, it's either you're a good worker, hard worker, or you're not. That's it. Simple as that.
Both Som and Gaga regularly work 10 to 12-hour shifts. I asked them what they thought of Mr Little's speech.
I think that's wrong because look at the owner operator of this store. He started pushing the trolleys, stacking the shelves. That's just the wrong philosophy, man. I started with scraping the trays and now I manage the 17 staffs. End of the day, we all are human beings and we all got the same feelings. And I don't think it's to saying that immigrants coming over and taking over. Personally, I just thought like it's not right. So if you are genuine and you're doing the right thing, you definitely deserve to stay.
Som says he doesn't think Labour nor the government have thought hard enough about their immigration policies.
Can't find the people locally and we can't train enough or get them onto the board fast enough, then we need to fill in the gaps. Who's going to work those hours? Who's going to put the products on the shelf, you know? It's a business, so we got to sell the product. And if we don't have the product, what are we going to sell? Empty shelves? Government gets the revenue from selling products, GST, I guess, and then how is he going to get the money if there's nothing on the shelf to sell?
Jason Witahira says at the end of the day, he'll abide by the law
I respect the government for the decisions, and they've got to make some hard decisions for the benefit of all New Zealanders, and that's their job. So I don't disagree black and white with some of their decisions. It's just that when you're in business and you're trying to create a culture of unity and moving forward and serving your community that's diverse as well, it gets a bit hard sometimes.
He just hopes the law allows him to employ migrants. For Checkpoint, Zach Fleming.